Hello everyone, my name is Diana Gidenko, and today I'll be speaking to you about how United States should provide universal health care for their citizens. Having health care ensures our family's wellness. So it is actually a basic need of every human being. Our country should ensure that every person is covered by free equal health care regardless of age, gender, or income. Universal healthcare systems would provide citizens with financial protection and healthcare in the United States. Although this coverage is not free, it provides specific benefits to all. So there are those who are insured and those who are not. However, everyone should have an equal form of healthcare because it is a basic necessity. To get our country on the path of free healthcare, we should address the problem to those in higher places and clearly explain how we can get our country to where the other countries are at, providing free healthcare. Because those who decide what happens in our country always have a plan, and if we provide a plan with issue and solutions, then we will begin the process to a new system of healthcare. Did you guys know that the United States is actually the highest developed country without universal health care? Countries such as Germany, Australia, Canada, France, Hong Kong, and Russia are actually just some of the countries that provide such health care and are actually thriving. So many people in the United States can't afford and are unable to receive the help due to their circumstances. So according to Kaiser Family Foundation, 27.6 million people in the United States were uninsured in 2016. Just to get a little bit of a background on our healthcare system today, our healthcare systems actually came from the root of World War II. Karen Palmer, a professor of health science at Simon Fraser University, states that in 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt imposed an effective freeze on labor wages, and companies started offering health and pension benefits as a way to retain workers instead. This was the beginning of employer-sponsored health care, though there was no government mandate to offer, except in Hawaii, of course. Unions began negotiating the benefits as part of what they could obtain for workers. The rest of the population wasn't covered, but it meant that unions didn't put pressure on the government to create a public health system. This explains the type of healthcare United States has now. Now, there are actually some issues that we do have. The first one being that the high cost of healthcare. Low-income populations actually do not have the healthcare or any type of coverage. This means that when they are sick, they'd actually prefer to stay home instead of going to a doctor's office because they do want to save that extra $100 that they might have to pay. There are those who don't have health coverage just because it is expensive for some families, and even though they're trying to provide for them and give them the best way possible, it is tough to get in more debt. So here I have a bar graph representing how many people could not afford and could not find an affordable plan. So due to these high premiums and complicated eligibility rules, not many in the United States are actually able to afford health care. The uninsured usually include non-citizens and young people ranging from ages 19 to 34. So for the not many non-citizens, they're generally Hispanics who can't afford that type of insurance because they are here illegally, and because of a new country, they can't afford it. Not only that, just because they are non-citizens doesn't mean we should provide health care when they are in need. Millennials actually can't afford such expensive coverage. When trying to keep up with being a full-time student or having a full-time job on top of that, sometimes those would go towards some other things such as bills or school tuition. So definitely that's usually on the downside of what they won't be looking at. So there are a couple solutions that as I researched I did find. The first one being that in the article I read, here is an American solution to the universal healthcare by Richard Kirsch. He talks about the proposal of Yale professor Jacob Hacker made regarding about our healthcare. So he actually actually talked about including a Part E not Part E insurance, but a Part E for Medicare. So this would guarantee that everyone is covered and would be a stepping stone towards universal health care. So we should have the same health care provided for those rich and poor. By having a dual system, we'll be able to ensure that there is health care equal for everyone. Also, we should have the same system as the other countries, such as Germany and France and Hong Kong. They are thriving, and by having such systems as them, we'll be able to also have universal health care here in the United States. So based off of Bernie Sanders, he was able to, when running for council, he was able to provide his own thoughts about universal health care. So what he did explain was that we should pass legislation that enables the public to choose an option between affordable rates. Even though it is not completely universal health care yet, it is in the right step in that direction. In doing so, it will increase competition in private insurance plans. So even though this doesn't really mean having universal health care overall, it is a slow process in trying to do that in the United States. Another part of it would be that we should lower the cost of prescription drugs. The pharmaceutical industry is usually greedy and try to upsell the product. For example, the price of insulin has skyrocketed in the past decade to $300 a vial. Back in time when I researched it, it was probably like $15 per vial. But this life-saving drug has become unaffordable to those with diabetes. So companies such as Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi have increased their insulin price more than 240%. So by having such a life-saving product, a prescription drug, many can't even afford it. They sometimes use expired drugs, or they sometimes just are not able to do so. So here is a call to action that we could even do today. So for one, protesting is actually a powerful way we can get our opinions out there. By protesting, we have a better healthcare system. We may possibly get the direction. For example, peaceful protest of Martin Luther King led to great changes in our culture. By having peaceful protests, we might be able to change our healthcare here in the United States. Finding healthcare professionals and institutions that provide better quality care at a lower cost. If we do that, then we will force out the healthcare systems that provide the low quality at a higher cost. So if everyone were to go to such things, then it would actually change a bit of the direction we have here. Finally, by providing the issue of our healthcare systems now and showing the solutions towards this problem, I will be able to show you the importance of universal healthcare. To go in the correct direction, I address the plan that our society could focus on to provide healthcare for all. Throughout providing problem of our current healthcare system, although many still cannot afford healthcare coverage, I'm able to show the background history and the root of the problem. By applying the solutions to the problem, we are one step closer to having a free healthcare. Seems to me that all the evidence is clearly showing that having free universal healthcare for the citizens of the United States is not too complicated to accomplish. The next question is, what are they waiting for? Thank you for listening. Have a great night.